Hi everyone, today I will be discussing about 10 fragrances distributed in 2 categories with 5 fragrances in each of them. And as mentioned in the video title, these perfumes are going to smell way expensive than their price suggests. And of course you are going to save a lot of money. The first category will be under 1000 rupees mark or roughly around $15. And the second category, it will be above the previous price threshold. I will be also discussing about advantages and disadvantages of each of those fragrances, which might help you decide whether you should consider or not consider them. If you are just getting into fragrances, you don't want to spend a lot of money, yet if you want to try out high quality fragrances, then if possible you should always go for decants and samples, and later you may decide to upgrade to the full bottle. So I am starting off this list with Hasan Alpha. Now if you are into fragrances, you will immediately recognize this smell. It will remind you of numerous other fragrances that is similar to the Creed Aventus. I decided to go for the 30 ml since I don't want another 100 ml bottle when I have various other similar pineapple based fragrances. I got this fragrance for roughly around 500 rupees mark, but is it a good value? I will talk about it in just a minute, but first let's discuss about the smell. This fragrance opens up with a sour bitter pineapple smell. I am also getting a very light hint of sweetness. Then it moves to the woody, green, slightly smoky dry down. Now this is not very different from what you get with the Hermes Club de Nuit Intense Man. I would say it is more close to the pure Parfum edition, especially in terms of smell. Sure, it's a refined and smooth blend, but is it worth the asking price? In my humble opinion, if you are getting a 30 ml bottle, it's totally worth it. But if you are looking to buy a full bottle since you like this smell, I would not recommend this fragrance. Since a full bottle is available for roughly around 2000 rupees, you get very similar value with the Hermes Club de Nuit Intense Man Pure Parfum edition, or you can spend slightly less and get the Rue Broca Theorem Matrix or the Riff's Privee Noir. And this is just one of its drawbacks, the another being its performance. I am getting good projection for just about half an hour, and then the projection becomes soft and the longevity is around 4 to 5 hours. Also keep in mind that I am testing this perfume at relatively cool weather, so at least for me the performance is on the average side. Personally, I will recommend the 30 ml fragrance to anybody who is just getting into fragrances or someone who is just looking to try out this DNA and maybe later commit to a full bottle. If you want a comprehensive pineapple based fragrance comparison, do let me know in the comment section down below. Moving on to another popular fragrance, it is the Rasasi Fattan. Now I have discussed about this fragrance a lot of times in my previous videos. It is one of those few vetiver fragrances which is available for very affordable price point. And if you love that earthy green vetiver smell, this one is a no-brainer. Personally, I love wearing this fragrance on very high summer heat or during the rainy seasons. What I really feel is that the Rasasi Fattan is a fresh take on the vetiver. However, the vetiver can itself be slightly polarizing in nature and the performance isn't that great, but that's given considering it is a very fresh fragrance, something you would want to wear when the temperature is hovering around the 40 degrees Celsius mark. Moving on to the next fragrance, it is quite an interesting one because this perfume is from an YouTube fragrance reviewer. It's from the Perfume Experience Mr. Rodney. This cologne for 50 ml is just priced under 1000 rupees, and the scent I am talking about will remind you of the Creed Viking. Now this perfume also has some pros and cons attached to it. Starting with the good thing, the perfume is very smooth. It is well blended and doesn't have that rough edges around it. It doesn't have that alcohol blast which many affordable fragrances come with. And till now all the fragrances I have talked about, all of these have very smooth opening and no alcohol blast. But an upcoming fragrance in this video will have some alcohol blast in the beginning. Now coming to the blend 745 Viking, it has a very spicy citrusy opening, very masculine and very aromatic in nature. It doesn't have that juicy citrusy note which modern fragrances come with. Instead it has a old school citrusy vibe. And if you are a big fan of barbers of fragrances like me, then it won't hurt to try this one out. As the scent starts to develop, the citruses fade away, giving rise to the spicy floral heart. Especially the clove and the lavender are very prominent. And that is how the barbers of fragrances do smell, isn't it? They start off with spicy citrusy smell, then they have the classic heart of aromatic lavender, some powdered touch and little bit of floral hints, and finally they go into the green and woody dry down. And this one is no different. If you love fragrances like the David of Gino or the Tom Ford's Beau de Jour, this perfume is also on the similar lines. Classic, old school and manly. However, there is one thing that is holding this fragrance back. It is the performance. Currently in terms of longevity, I am getting about 5 hours, which which falls on the average side of the things. And in terms of projection, it becomes a soft scent after the first 45 minutes. I wonder if it is due to the extract concentration. Now, one thing I have noticed with this fragrance, the performance has improved quite a bit. When I initially got this perfume, the performance was around 3 hours. Right now, I am getting about 5 to 6 hours, but the projection is still on the softer side. But if you are looking for a very refined barbershop fragrance, this is one of the best you can get for under 1000 rupees. If you want raw and brutal performance, you can definitely check the Rasasi Amber Alive, which I have reviewed earlier. But the Rasasi Amber Alive is a bit sharp in the opening. And in reality, I should not compare that fragrance because it has that different kind of smell. It is more soapy in nature, slightly more green and piney, and more spicy as well. Now moving on to the next fragrance, it is the most affordable one here. It is the Wildstone Whisky. As good as this perfume is in terms of uniqueness and the artistic nature, you might have seen me not including this fragrance in many lists. And that's because it is extremely polarizing in nature. This perfume has that realistic whiskey smell which might not be pleasing to a lot of people out there. This perfume reminds me a little bit of baraonda, and it's a photorealistic fermented alcoholic smell. Whether I like this fragrance or not, that's a totally different matter, but I do appreciate the artistic expression of this perfume. And since this is a very affordable fragrance, it doesn't hurt to try it. It smells really expensive as a fragrance, but I would not recommend this perfume to anybody out there unless they like the smell of the whiskey. The next fragrance is for the Gourmand perfume lovers out there, and it is the Grandeur Tubbees Cookies and Cream. And as the name suggests, it smells just like a creamy cookie. But there is a catch. For the first 10 to 15 seconds just after applying this fragrance, you will get an alcohol blast. But after that initial phase, the perfume will settle down and it will be lot smoother than the initial stage, and you will get that photorealistic cookie smell. The performance I am getting out of this fragrance is around 4 to 5 hours of longevity, and the projection is good for the first hour. The main strength of this fragrance is its mass appealing sweet DNA. Now let's move on to the fragrances which are above 1000 rupees mark. I have decided to include some fragrances that I have seldomly discussed. The first one being the Zimaya Inekas Luna. If you are yet to try an Iris based fragrance, any good Iris fragrance will dazzle you. Either you will love it or you will not. The smell of the Iris comes across as very rich and luxurious, and of course expensive. Of course, these affordable fragrances will not use the real Iris or Oris, but the Zimaya Inekas Luna is one of the finest fragrance you can try under 2000 rupees mark. It will not have that pure lipsticky chocolatey smell like that of DHI. It has that added smooth whiskey accord, lightly nutty and powdery, and a hint of makeup smell. To be exact, it will remind you of the Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privee. I would say just a tad bit sweeter. Now in terms of performance, I am getting about 5 to 6 hours of longevity with good projection for the first hour in cold weather. Now Iris is a very special fragrance accord for me, and I would always recommend you to try at least once. Who knows, you might just fall in love with Iris based fragrances. There is a seductive charm about this fragrance, and yet it feels very classy. Now moving on to the next cologne, and yes, it's a long lasting one. It is the Coco Morado from the French Avenue. This perfume is supposed to smell similar to Oud Cadenza from Maison Crivelli, but honestly I have never tried that fragrance. But I can really speak about the Coco Morado. It is a fragrance that smells unique and niche style. There is definitely a bit of Middle Eastern touch here, but the oud in here is done in a mass appealing way. This cologne opens up with a smoky smell, but surprisingly it will move towards a very sweet, resinous and kind of mass appealing DNA. Generally I see fragrances start with sweet vibe and then they move into dark facet, but this fragrance kind of does it in an opposite way. The dry down is kind of sweet with date, little bit of vanilla, amber and caramel. But the performance of this fragrance is just fantastic. I am easily getting around 8 to 9 hours on clothes, although I have to say the projection is on the moderate side. And this is way different fragrance compared to the liquid brune. Moving on to the next fragrance, which I think is an excellent option for the upcoming spring season. Once again, it's from Fragrance World. It is the Miraj Absolu. I don't know why, but this fragrance gives me a vibe of luxurious hotel. A very modern apple vanilla fragrance, but done in a very classy way. It has a fresh and bright opening, but in the dry down, it becomes earthy, woody and musky. You can rock this fragrance at any time of the year except in high heat summer. In the summer season, I will avoid this one. But for the rest of the year, you can make this fragrance as your signature scent. It is going to smell unique and way different from blue fragrances that people usually wear. It also has a decent compliment factor for it. Now quickly moving on to the next fragrance, it is the Rayhaan Terra. I will not be going into the details of this this fragrance as I have already done a full review of this perfume, but basically it is a very resinous, sweet, spicy fragrance, quite Middle Eastern smelling and can be polarizing in nature due to its balsamic facet. The performance is very good, but I would recommend you to try this fragrance before considering a full bottle. I will make sure to put the link of the full review on the top I button. Do check it out if you are interested in this fragrance. Now we are into the final fragrance of this list, and this is such a stunning fragrance. It is the Nusuk Ateeq. If you love the honey tobacco combination but without the extra sweetness from the vanilla like the lemon elixir and a bit more character to the fragrance, then this is what Nusuk Ateeq is. Now the smell will remind you of the Xerjoff Naxos, but there are subtle differences. It's a bit cinnamon heavy and there is not a lot of citruses in the opening, but it is certainly one of the most refined fragrance I had tried last year. I would say save this fragrance for special occasions where you want to garner compliments and smell just luxurious. It has a gorgeous bottle design to go along with that luxurious smell, and if you are interested in this fragrance, do check out my full review. If you took anything value of this video, please hit that like button, and if you love fragrance related content like this, please do consider subscribing to the channel as well, because your support truly means a lot to me. And if you are curious about some of the best fragrances released last year, you can click on this video. And that's it for today's video. I will meet you all in my next video. Till then, stay safe and as always, stay honest.